Long ago, humans possessed skills that are now rarely seen or remembered. These were not simple tricks, but essential crafts and techniques that shaped daily life, connected people to nature, and required patience, focus, and deep understanding. Imagine a quiet village centuries ago, where every action was deliberate. People made their own tools, built their homes from natural materials, and created objects entirely by hand. Each task demanded attention and knowledge passed down through generations. In those times, nothing came ready-made. Wood had to be carved, stone had to be shaped, fibers had to be spun, and metals had to be carefully melted and forged. The hands learned subtle movements, guided by experience and the slow rhythm of daily work. Picture a craftsman shaping a flint blade. Each strike of stone against stone had to be precise. Too hard or too soft, and the piece would shatter. Yet, with patience, a perfectly sharp tool emerged, capable of carving, cutting, and surviving for generations. Pottery, too, required mastery. Clay was hand-shaped, dried, and fired in slow, smoky fires. Each pot was unique, the surface smoothed by patient fingers, often decorated with subtle patterns that carried meaning for the maker and the community. Textiles were another wonder of daily life. Fibers were spun and twisted by hand, woven on simple looms into cloth. Natural dyes extracted from plants, roots, and insects brought color to the world. Each garment or fabric bore the mark of careful observation and gentle skill. Even the preparation of food demanded expertise. Grains were ground by hand, meat preserved with smoke or salt, and every process required attention to timing, texture, and temperature. Survival and nourishment depended on knowledge of the land and the seasons. Children learned these skills quietly, through observation and gentle practice. They felt the fibers between their fingers, the weight of stones in their hands, the warmth of clay as it dried. Knowledge was passed through experience rather than written instruction. Homes and tools were crafted with care and patience. Wooden beams were carved precisely, thatched roofs layered in rhythm with the seasons, and everyday utensils were shaped with the hands, rather than purchased from a store. Life followed the rhythm of nature. The slow pace of work, the care in crafting, and the observation of natural patterns allowed humans to live in harmony with their surroundings. Every object had purpose, every skill had value. Even in the simplest acts, there was mindfulness. Selecting a branch for a handle, folding fibers into cordage, or polishing a stone blade required quiet attention. These small moments connected humans to the material world in ways we rarely experience today. Though many of these skills are now lost, their echoes remain. In quiet moments, when we handle a handcrafted item, light a fire, or weave a small basket, we touch a fragment of a world shaped by hands, patience, and enduring wisdom. And so, we begin our journey into the ancient skills humans have lost, skills that once defined survival, creativity, and connection to the natural world. A world that moved slowly, deliberately, and with gentle care, inviting reflection on what once was. Long before metal tools, humans relied on the skill of shaping stone. Every tool was carefully chipped and flaked to create a sharp edge, a process that required patience, focus, and a deep understanding of the material. Imagine a quiet morning in an open clearing. A person sits cross-legged, holding a piece of flint. With careful strikes, tiny fragments break away, revealing the shape of a blade hidden within the stone. Each movement is deliberate, practiced, and slow. The rhythm of flint knapping was gentle but precise. Too strong a strike and the stone would shatter. Too soft and it would remain unshaped. The hands moved with knowledge born of observation and repeated practice, guided by centuries of tradition. Stone tools were not just functional, they were extensions of the maker's mind and body. Each blade, scraper, or arrowhead carried evidence of subtle skill, carefully balanced angles, and a refined touch. Children in these communities often watched silently. They absorbed the rhythm of the work, noticing how the craftsman held the stone, how each strike produced a tiny flake, and how patience transformed a rough rock into a useful tool. The process required an intimate understanding of different stones. Flint, chert, obsidian, each material responded differently to pressure and impact. A craftsman could sense its properties by weight, texture, and even sound. Tools were made for specific purposes. A sharp-edged scraper could prepare hides for clothing. A slender blade could carve wood, and a pointed stone could serve as a weapon for hunting. Every tool had a precise function, crafted with intention. The making of stone tools was also meditative. The repetition of gentle strikes, the focus on a single object, and the awareness of one's own movements created a rhythm that was calming and reflective. Stone tools were passed down, shared, and repaired. A well-crafted tool could last for years, and its design often informed the creation of new tools, a quiet continuity of knowledge across generations. Even the surrounding environment played a role. Stones were selected carefully from riverbeds or quarries, sometimes transported over long distances, chosen for their color, texture, and durability. Every detail mattered. Through this careful craft, early humans learned patience, observation, and an understanding of natural materials. The slow rhythm of creation connected them deeply to the world around them and to their own capabilities. Though today we rarely shape stone for everyday use, the skill reflects a quiet mastery of the natural world, a harmony between hands, mind, and material, and a reminder of how deeply humans once engaged with their environment. Long before the invention of the potter's wheel, humans shaped clay entirely by hand. Every bowl, jar, or vessel was a product of careful touch, patience, and subtle understanding of the material. Imagine a quiet morning in a village. The air is soft and cool, the earth damp. A potter sits cross-legged, clay pressed gently between fingers and palms, slowly molding it into a shape that will hold water, grain, or food. Hands moved deliberately, pressing, pinching, and smoothing. Every gesture was intentional, every motion learned through years of observation and practice. The clay responded to touch, softening, stretching, and forming under careful pressure. Children often watched in silence, learning the feel of the material. They noticed how moisture, temperature, and pressure influenced the clay, and how patience and gentle persistence created lasting forms. Even shaping simple bowls required skill. The potter had to maintain symmetry without modern tools, ensuring that the walls were even, the edges smooth, and the vessel balanced for practical use. Designs and textures were added slowly. Simple patterns etched with fingers or sticks, impressions of leaves or woven mats, brought both beauty and individuality to each piece, reflecting the personality of the maker. Firing the clay was another careful process. Pots were dried gradually, then placed in small fires, smoke curling gently through the air. Too much heat could crack the vessel, too little, and it remained fragile. The environment played a crucial role. Clay was chosen from riverbeds, pits, or quarries, each with unique textures and qualities. Potters learned to sense the right consistency by touch, smell, and subtle observation. Pottery was more than functional. It was a quiet dialogue between human and earth. Each pot carried the mark of hands and patience, and the knowledge that a small mistake could change its shape or strength forever. Even storing and using pots required care. Clay vessels were placed gently, lined carefully with cloth or straw, and cleaned with soft water. This slow, mindful attention extended their life and utility. The creation of handmade pottery fostered reflection. Hours spent molding and shaping clay allowed the mind to wander gently, observing nature, community, and the rhythm of daily life. Though modern kilns and machines have replaced these techniques, handmade pottery reminds us of a world where skill, patience, and subtle attention to detail shaped objects that were both useful and beautiful. Long before machines and looms, humans created cloth entirely by hand. Fibers from flax, wool, or cotton were carefully prepared, spun, and woven, producing textiles that were both functional and beautiful. Imagine a quiet village, morning light filtering softly through wooden huts. A person sits with a simple loom, or even just a frame of sticks, fingers gently guiding threads, twisting and intertwining them into fabric. Each movement is deliberate. Threads are aligned, tension adjusted, and patterns formed slowly, with care. One small mistake could ripple through the weave, requiring patience to correct. Children often sit nearby, watching quietly. They learn the rhythm of weaving, the feel of fibers sliding between fingers, and the subtle balance between tension and flexibility that creates strong, lasting cloth. Fibers themselves required preparation. Flax had to be retted, wool carded, and cotton cleaned and combed. This slow, hands-on process connected people intimately to the materials and the environment from which they came. Patterns were created through repetition and observation. Simple stripes, geometric shapes, or subtle textures emerged naturally as the weaver worked, reflecting both skill and creativity. Weaving was not just practical, it was meditative. The rhythmic movement of fingers and hands, the quiet sound of threads moving, and the steady pace of work encouraged calm reflection. The cloth produced served many purposes. Garments, blankets, ropes, and coverings were all crafted carefully, providing comfort and utility. Each piece carried the attention and patience of its maker. Even storage and handling of textiles required care. Woven cloth was often rolled or folded gently, kept away from moisture, and treated with respect, as it represented hours of careful work. Communities shared knowledge quietly. Experienced weavers guided younger members, teaching techniques for spinning, knotting, and weaving, ensuring skills were passed from generation to generation. Through ancient weaving, humans developed patience, precision, and mindfulness. Every thread was a connection between nature, hand, and mind, creating objects that were practical, beautiful, and enduring. Though modern machines have replaced most hand weaving, the skill reminds us of a time when humans worked slowly, thoughtfully, and with gentle care, shaping everyday life with their hands. Long before chemical dyes and industrial colors, humans extracted hues from plants, minerals, and even insects. Every shade required careful preparation, gentle observation, and patience. Imagine a quiet forest or garden, soft sunlight filtering through leaves. People gather roots, berries, flowers, and bark, selecting each carefully for its color and potential. Each plant holds secrets of hue waiting to be revealed. Fibers for dyeing, wool, flax, cotton are prepared with care. They are cleaned, softened, and sometimes soaked in natural mordants, like ashes or clay, to help the colors bond gently and last longer. The process of making dyes is slow and methodical. Plants are crushed, boiled, or soaked, releasing their pigments into gentle water baths. Each color requires different techniques, temperature, and timing, learned through careful observation. Children may watch quietly, absorbing the subtleties of the craft. They notice how leaves change the water's color, how roots deepen shades, and how careful handling ensures a soft, even hue. Natural dyes often required layering. A single dip might give a pale shade, while repeated immersions deepened the color. The rhythm of dipping, drying, and observing became a calming, meditative practice. The environment played a role as well. Sunlight, water quality, and even the season affected the resulting colors. Dyeing was a delicate conversation between human skill and nature's subtle influence. Patterns and designs emerged slowly. Gentle twisting, binding or folding of fibers before dyeing produced intricate motifs, each telling a quiet story of craftsmanship and careful attention. Even small details mattered. The temperature of the dye bath, the length of soaking, and the way fibers were stirred influenced the final result. Every step required patience and mindfulness. Finished fabrics were treated with care. Once dry, they were folded, stored, or displayed gently, respecting both the skill invested and the natural materials used. The making of natural dyes was more than a craft. It was a form of quiet reflection. Each hue captured the essence of plants, earth, and light, connecting humans to the natural world in soft, gentle ways. Though modern dyes have largely replaced these techniques, the art of natural coloring reminds us of a time when humans worked slowly, thoughtfully, and attentively, creating beauty from the earth itself. Long before modern machinery, humans shaped metals by hand. Bronze, copper, and iron were transformed slowly through fire, hammer, and careful observation, creating tools, weapons, and ornaments. Imagine a quiet forge in a village, embers glowing softly in the early morning. A craftsman works patiently, heating metal in a small clay furnace until it becomes malleable, warm light reflecting on the surface. Each strike of the hammer is deliberate, precise. Too hard, and the metal could crack. Too soft, and it might not hold its shape. The rhythm of work requires focus, patience, and intimate knowledge of the material. Children often watch quietly, learning through observation. They see how heat changes color, how metals respond to pressure, and how subtle adjustments lead to successful results. Metals were chosen with care. Each type, bronze, copper, or later iron, had unique properties, demanding different approaches in heating, hammering, and melting, and shaping. Craftsmen learned to sense these differences by touch, weight, and even sound. Tools, knives, and weapons were made not only for function, but also for longevity. Every piece was carefully tested, adjusted, and refined to ensure it could serve its purpose for years to come. Metalworking was a slow, meditative practice. The steady rhythm of hammering, bending, and cooling allowed the mind to focus quietly, observing every change in the material and appreciating the connection between hand, mind, and metal. Ornaments and decorative objects reflected artistry as much as skill. Engraving, shaping, and polishing metal required gentle touch and subtle understanding of form, light, and symmetry. Even the preparation of materials was deliberate. Ores were mined, smelted, and refined gradually, sometimes with the addition of natural fluxes or careful mixing of metals to achieve the desired properties. The surrounding environment influenced the work. Fires were built carefully, airflow controlled, and tools arranged methodically, creating a calm, focused workspace in tune with the craftsman's rhythm. Metalworking connected humans to both nature and culture. It required patience, observation, and creativity, turning raw earth into objects that were useful, durable, and sometimes beautiful. Though modern factories and machines have replaced these hands-on techniques, ancient metalworking reminds us of a time when human skill, patience, and gentle care transformed raw materials into objects of lasting value. Long before modern factories, humans discovered the delicate art of shaping glass. Using fire, sand, and careful breath, they created vessels, ornaments, and objects of quiet beauty. Imagine a quiet workshop, the glow of a small furnace reflecting softly on walls. A craftsman gathers molten glass on the end of a metal rod, turning and shaping it slowly, with deliberate care. Every breath matters. By gently blowing through the rod, the glass expands, forming smooth curves and hollow spaces. Too much or too little pressure can alter the shape, so each movement is measured and intentional. Children often watch quietly, learning the rhythm of the craft. They notice how heat changes the consistency of the glass, how the rotation of the rod affects symmetry, and how patience transforms a glowing blob into a delicate object. Glassblowers selected materials carefully. Fine sand, ashes, and minerals were mixed to achieve clarity and color, with subtle variations that required years of practice to understand fully. Even simple vessels demanded precision. Bowls, bottles, and jars were shaped with gentle movements, ensuring they could hold liquids without cracking and that their forms were balanced and harmonious. The process required observation and timing. The craftsman watched the color, thickness, and pliability of the glass, adjusting movements and heat to achieve the desired shape. Glass could also be decorated. Twisting colors, adding threads, or engraving patterns required careful hands and a gentle eye for detail, creating objects that were functional and artistic. The workshop itself was a place of quiet focus. Tools were arranged methodically, furnaces stoked carefully, and assistants moved slowly, all contributing to the calm rhythm of creation. Glassblowing connecting humans to fire, earth, and air, it demanded patience, creativity, and subtle mastery, transforming raw materials into objects that seemed almost magical. Even the cooling of glass required care. Objects were slowly lowered into controlled environments, preventing cracks and preserving the delicate forms shaped with such attention. Though modern machines have taken over most glass production, the art of ancient glassblowing reminds us of a time when skill, patience, and quiet observation shaped beautiful, enduring objects. Long before industrial methods, humans transformed animal hides into leather using slow, natural processes. Every step required patience, careful observation, and gentle handling of materials. Imagine a quiet village near a river, soft morning light illuminating hides stretched on wooden frames. A tanner works with hands and simple tools, slowly cleaning and preparing the raw hides for transformation. The first step is softening. Hides are soaked, scraped, and worked gently, removing hair and impurities while preserving the natural fibers. Each movement is deliberate, each scrape measured. Children often observe silently, learning how pressure and timing affect the texture. They notice how a hide responds differently depending on its thickness, moisture, and temperature. Once cleaned, the hides are treated with natural substances, bark, leaves, or oils that gradually soften, preserve, and color the leather. This process can take days or weeks, requiring patience and careful attention. The tanner's hands guide the material gently, folding, rubbing, and stretching the hide. Every motion shapes not only the leather, but also the craftsman's understanding of texture and resilience. Even small details matter. Edges are smoothed, folds checked, and thickness measured by touch. These subtle actions ensure the leather is durable, flexible, and suitable for clothing, bags, or tools. The environment contributes quietly. Sunlight, humidity, and air movement all influence the tanning process. A tanner works in harmony with these factors, observing and adjusting with care. Patterns and marks can be added to leather using stamping or incising techniques. Each design is slow, deliberate, and requires a steady hand, transforming simple hides into objects of both function and beauty. Leather was essential for daily life. Shoes, clothing, belts, and containers were all made from hand-tanned hides, providing comfort, protection, and practicality for the community. The process fosters reflection. Hours spent working with hides, feeling textures, and observing subtle changes encourage a quiet mindfulness, connecting humans to the natural world and the material itself. Though modern tanning often relies on chemicals and machinery, hand-tanned leather reminds us of a time when patience, skill, and gentle care transformed raw materials into durable, beautiful objects. Long before the convenience of printed pages, humans created writing materials by hand. Fibers from plants, bark, and reeds were transformed slowly into sheets capable of holding stories, records, and knowledge. Imagine a quiet riverside workshop. morning light spilling softly on bundles of reeds and fibers. A craftsman gently soaks, presses, and flattens the plant material, preparing it for transformation into smooth sheets. Each step is deliberate. Fibers are carefully separated, softened, and arranged into thin layers. The hands guide them with gentle pressure, ensuring an even surface that will hold ink and resist tearing. Children often watch in silence. They notice how fibers overlap, how water and pressure influence texture, and how patience can turn fragile plant material into something lasting. Papyrus requires layering. Strips of reeds are laid side by side, then crossed with additional layers at right angles. Each layer is pressed, soaked, and dried gradually, forming a strong and flexible sheet. Even small differences in thickness or alignment affect the final result. Craftsmen adjust with subtle movements, feeling the texture, observing the surface, and ensuring that each sheet is smooth and reliable. Ink interacts with handmade paper differently than with modern sheets. Craftsmen understand how absorption, texture, and surface irregularities influence writing, creating a quiet dialogue between hand and material. Making paper is slow and meditative. Hours of preparation, pressing, and drying teach patience and mindfulness, connecting humans to the natural rhythm of work and the properties of natural materials. Every sheet produced carries the mark of careful hands. It may bear slight variations, tiny imperfections, or delicate textures, each one a testament to the skill and attention invested in its creation. Paper and papyrus were essential for recording stories, laws, and knowledge. They allowed communities to preserve memory, communicate ideas, and pass wisdom to future generations. Even storage and handling required care. Sheets were stacked gently, protected from moisture, and used thoughtfully, reflecting respect for the labor that created them. Though modern machines produce paper quickly, handmade sheets remind us of a time when writing materials were crafted with patience, skill, and gentle attention to detail, connecting human hands to the flow of knowledge. Long before commercial soaps and synthetic chemicals, humans created cleansing soaps by hand. Using natural fats, ashes, and gentle heat, they produced substances that cleaned and nourished the body. Imagine a quiet kitchen or workshop, sunlight spilling softly on wooden tables. A person carefully measures fats and combines them with lye derived from wood ashes, moving slowly and deliberately. Each step is careful. The ingredients are mixed with gentle attention, stirred just enough to combine without spilling, and monitored for changes in texture and consistency. Children often watch quietly, learning how subtle differences in proportions and timing affect the soap. They notice how mixtures thicken gradually, how colors shift, and how patience ensures success. Soap making begins with simple observation. The right temperature, the feel of the mixture, and the gentle rhythm of stirring guide the process more than any written instructions. Natural additives like herbs, flowers, or clay are sometimes included. They enhance scent, texture, or color, each addition requiring careful attention to avoid disrupting the balance of the soap. Pouring the mixture into molds is a gentle art. It must be done slowly, evenly, and with precision to avoid bubbles, cracks, or uneven surfaces, ensuring the soap dries smoothly. The curing process takes days or weeks. Soap is left in quiet, ventilated areas where air and time transform the mixture into a firm, gentle cleansing bar. This waiting period teaches patience and respect for natural processes. Every finished bar carries the mark of the maker's hands. Subtle patterns, textures, or slight variations in color reveal the care and attention invested in the process. Soap served both practical and cultural roles. It cleansed the body, protected the skin, and often played a part in rituals, health practices, and social customs. Even storing and using soap requires mindfulness. Bars were placed gently, kept dry, and appreciated for the labor and skill that created them, reflecting a slow, thoughtful approach to daily life. Though modern soap is produced rapidly and uniformly, traditional handmade soap reminds us of a time when simple ingredients, careful observation, and patient hands transformed natural materials into essential objects for daily comfort. Long before compasses, maps, and GPS, humans traversed vast lands and seas guided by the sky, the earth, and their own careful observation. Navigation was a skill born of patience, attention, and deep connection to the natural world. Imagine a quiet dawn on an open plain or the edge of a gentle sea. Travelers look upward, noticing the rising sun, the patterns of stars, and the shifting clouds, using these cues to guide their paths. Every movement of the sun or moon held meaning. Its position, angle, and glow provided subtle signals, requiring careful observation and gentle calculation to interpret correctly. Children often accompany elders on these journeys, learning by watching. They notice the way shadows stretch, how wind and weather affect direction, and how subtle changes in the landscape indicate the right path. Landmarks played a vital role. Trees, rocks, and rivers acted as guides, their shapes and positions memorized over time. Navigation depended on memory, patience, and observation rather than instruments. Waterways required similar attentiveness. Sailors and fishermen observed currents, tides, and wave patterns, reading the natural world to move safely and efficiently across rivers or seas. Animals often offered guidance. Birds flying in certain directions, the tracks of land creatures, or the behavior of fish could indicate nearby water or safe paths, all interpreted through careful attention and experience. The night sky provided a quiet classroom. Stars and constellations became markers for direction, each one a reference point, their movement observed over seasons and years. Patience was essential to remember and interpret these patterns. Even subtle weather changes were significant. The approach of clouds, shifts in wind, or the smell of rain taught lessons in prediction, allowing travelers to adjust plans gently and safely. Ancient navigation required both courage and calm reflection. Every decision was deliberate, every observation intentional, and every journey taught new lessons about the natural world and human resilience. Knowledge passed quietly. Elders guided the young, sharing secrets of the skies, rivers, and lands, ensuring that these essential skills survived through careful teaching and observation. Though modern tools may travel easy, ancient navigation reminds us of a time when humans relied on observation, patience, and subtle understanding of nature, moving through the world with quiet skill and gentle awareness. Long before modern construction machines, humans shaped and built with stone entirely by hand. Every wall, pathway, and structure required patience, skill, and careful observation of materials. Imagine a quiet morning at a construction site. Sunlight casting soft shadows on stones of various shapes and sizes. A mason examines each piece, feeling its weight, texture, and natural lines before deciding how it will fit. Every strike of a hammer and chisel is deliberate. Too hard, and the stone could crack. Too soft, and it might not shape as intended. The rhythm of work requires focus, patience, and intimate knowledge of the material. Children may sit nearby, watching quietly. They notice how angles are calculated, how surfaces are smoothed, and how each stone is selected for stability and strength. Stone is chosen with care. Its hardness, grain, and durability guide the mason's decisions, ensuring that every piece contributes to a structure that will last for generations. Even simple walls demand attention. Stones must be leveled, fitted snugly together, and supported with subtle adjustments, a process that requires quiet concentration and thoughtful hands. Patterns in masonry can be both practical and decorative. The careful arrangement of stones creates stability and beauty, reflecting the craftsman's eye for symmetry, texture, and proportion. Mortar, when used, is mixed and applied slowly. Each layer is measured, smoothed, and checked, bonding stones gently while maintaining alignment and structural integrity. The process is meditative. Hours spent shaping, placing, and adjusting stones develop a quiet focus, connecting the mason to the natural rhythm of work and the properties of the stone. Even the surrounding environment influences the craft. Light, moisture, and temperature are observed carefully, as they can subtly affect the stone and the techniques applied. Stonemasonry was essential for building shelters, monuments, and communal spaces. Each structure was a testament to patience, observation, and skill, providing safety and enduring beauty. Though modern machinery has largely replaced these manual techniques, ancient stone masonry reminds us of a time when human hands shaped the world deliberately, thoughtfully, and with quiet mastery. Long before modern shipyards, humans crafted boats entirely by hand. Using wood, reeds, and natural fibers, they built vessels capable of carrying people and goods across rivers, lakes, and seas. Imagine a quiet morning on a riverbank. A boat builder examines planks of wood, feeling their grain, weight, and texture, selecting each piece carefully for strength and flexibility. Every cut and joint is deliberate. Too forceful a strike with an axe could split the wood. Too soft, and the shape would remain incomplete. Patience and careful observation guide every movement. Children often watch quietly, absorbing the rhythm of work. They notice how planks are joined, how fibers are twisted into ropes, and how slow, methodical actions transform raw materials into a floating vessel. Wood is prepared with care. It is shaped, carved, and sometimes bent gently over fires to achieve the desired curvature, ensuring that each piece fits snugly and contributes to the boat's stability. Fibers from plants or animal hides are twisted into ropes to lash planks together. Every knot is tied carefully, every tension adjusted, providing strength without rigid nails or modern adhesives. The hull is assembled slowly, layer by layer. Planks are aligned, gaps sealed with natural materials like pitch, moss, or tar, and each action is observed closely for balance and stability. Even small details matter. Edges are smoothed, oars crafted precisely, and surfaces polished gently, ensuring that the boat moves efficiently through water and withstands the elements. The process is meditative. The sound of tools against wood, the smell of fresh timber, and the rhythm of joining planks create a calming, reflective environment for the builder. Boats were essential for trade, communication, and survival. Each vessel carried the care, patience, and skill of its maker, connecting communities and opening pathways across water. Knowledge was passed quietly from one generation to the next. Young learners observed elders, practiced small tasks, and gradually understood the delicate balance of materials and technique. Though modern shipbuilding relies on machines and technology, ancient boat building reminds us of a time when human hands, patience, and gentle observation could transform raw materials into vessels that floated safely and gracefully. Long before metal tools were common, humans mastered the art of flint knapping. By striking stones carefully, they created sharp edges for cutting, scraping, and hunting, transforming raw rock into precise instruments. Imagine a quiet clearing, morning sunlight filtering through the trees. A flint knapper sits with a piece of flint, examining its surface and planning each strike with gentle care. Each movement is deliberate. A misjudged blow could ruin the entire piece, while careful, measured taps allow flakes to fall away, revealing the tool hidden within the stone. Children often watch silently, noticing how the knapper holds the flint, the angle of the hammerstone, and the rhythm of repeated gentle strikes that gradually shape the rock. Different types of stone require subtle understanding. Flint, chert, and obsidian respond uniquely to pressure, temperature, and force, demanding that the craftsman adjust techniques instinctively. Even the smallest flake removed matters. Each contributes to the final sharpness, balance, and durability of the tool, showing the intimate connection between the napper's hands and the stone. Flint knapping was more than a practical skill. It was a meditative practice. The steady rhythm of tapping, the quiet focus, and the patience required created a calm and reflective environment. Tools were made for specific purposes. Some were slender and pointed for hunting, others broad and flat for scraping hides, and each required subtle adjustments to ensure functionality. The surrounding environment was carefully observed. Stones were gathered from riverbeds or cliffs, chosen for quality and texture, and sometimes transported long distances to ensure the best materials were used. Knowledge was shared quietly. Elders demonstrated technique, and younger learners practiced repeatedly, developing the precision and patience needed to master the craft over time. Every finished tool reflected skill, observation, and subtle artistry. Even slight imperfections were valued as part of the learning process, reminding everyone of the patience and care required. Though metal tools have largely replaced flint, the art of flint knapping reminds us of a time when humans relied on skill, attention, and gentle mastery of natural materials to survive and thrive. Long before refrigerators and freezers, humans preserved food using careful, natural techniques. Salt, smoke, drying, and fermentation allowed communities to store nourishment and survive through seasons. Imagine a quiet evening in a small village. Smoke curls gently from a hearth where fish or meat hang, slowly drying and taking on flavors guided by patience and observation. Salt was a precious tool. Foods were carefully layered with crystals, absorbing moisture gradually while retaining taste and nutrition. Every pinch and spread required subtle judgment. Children watched quietly, learning how timing, texture, and smell indicated readiness. They noticed how meat firmed, grains changed, and liquids shifted, understanding nature's subtle signals. Drying in the sun or near fires was another method. Fruits, herbs, and vegetables were spread out on mats, rotated and monitored slowly to prevent spoilage while preserving natural flavors and nutrients. Fermentation relied on careful observation of time and environment. Milk, grains, or vegetables transformed into yogurt, beer, or pickles, requiring attention to temperature, texture, and subtle aroma changes. Smoke added both preservation and flavor. Woods were chosen for their gentle heat and scent, while foods hung in airy spaces, absorbing smoke gradually, requiring patience and care. Even simple storage demanded mindfulness. Containers were kept clean, pests observed, and foods rotated regularly, ensuring long-term usability without waste. Preservation was deeply connected to seasons. Harvests were planned with storage in mind, knowing how nature's cycles influenced freshness, moisture, and readiness. The process encouraged reflection. Hours spent tending, observing, and preparing food quietly connected humans to their environment and the delicate balance between sustenance and time. Skills were passed down gently. Elders guided younger members in subtle techniques, teaching the tactile, visual, and olfactory cues that signaled success in preserving food. Though modern refrigeration has changed how we store food, these ancient practices remind us of a time when patience, skill, and attention to nature allowed humans to sustain life carefully and thoughtfully. Long before the convenience of matches or lighters, humans relied on skill, patience, and careful observation to create fire. Every spark, every ember was a product of gentle attention to materials and technique. Imagine a quiet morning near a forest clearing. A person sits on soft earth, gathering dry twigs, shavings, and kindling, selecting each piece carefully. Every stick has a purpose, and every choice matters. Fire begins with friction. A wooden spindle is rotated against a baseboard, slowly generating heat. The hands move deliberately, feeling the subtle resistance and listening to the gentle sounds of wood rubbing against wood. Children watch quietly, learning to sense the rhythm. They notice how the spindle warms, how tiny shavings begin to smoke, and how patience and persistence gradually produce life from wood. Tinder is prepared carefully. Dry grasses, bark fibers, or moss are teased into soft, airy piles, ready to catch the smallest spark. Every piece must be arranged delicately, for even a small misstep could extinguish the effort. The first ember appears like a quiet miracle. It glows softly, fragile and vulnerable, yet full of potential. The craftsman transfers it carefully to the prepared tinder, nurturing it with gentle breaths until the flame grows. Building the fire requires attention to balance. Kindling is added slowly, allowing air to flow, feeding the flame without smothering it. Each stick is placed thoughtfully, guiding the flame upward and outward. Larger logs are introduced gradually. They crackle softly as they warm, releasing fragrance and warmth, and the fire grows steadily, guided by careful hands and quiet observation. The process is deeply meditative. The steady rhythm of spinning, the smell of warm wood, and the sight of smoke curling upward create a calm, reflective environment for both maker and observer. Fire was essential not only for warmth, but also for cooking, protection, and social gathering. Every flame symbolized skill, patience, and the intimate connection between humans and their environment. Knowledge was passed quietly from generation to generation. Elders guided the young, showing subtle adjustments, gentle techniques, and ways to read the materials, ensuring the skill endured through time. Though modern tools make fire creation almost effortless, the ancient art of fire-making reminds us of a time when patience, observation, and gentle skill could transform raw materials into warmth, light, and life itself. Long before plastic containers and metal crates, humans crafted baskets by hand using reeds, grasses, and flexible branches. Every weave required patience, observation, and gentle dexterity. Imagine a quiet morning near a riverbank, sunlight glimmering on dew-covered reeds. A basket weaver selects each strand carefully, noting its length, flexibility, and texture, preparing it for the intricate process ahead. The weaving begins slowly. Strands are bent, twisted, and intertwined with care. Each movement is deliberate, ensuring the structure remains balanced and strong. The hands work rhythmically, guided by both skill and intuition. Children watch quietly, absorbing the flow of motions. They notice how tension must be consistent, how strands must be aligned, and how small adjustments create smooth curves and tight binding. Materials are prepared thoughtfully. Reeds are soaked gently to increase flexibility. Grasses are cleaned and straightened, and branches are split carefully, all requiring subtle attention and patience. The base of the basket is constructed first, creating a solid foundation. Every weave is observed, every strand adjusted, until it forms a perfect starting point for the vertical walls. Walls are built gradually. Strands are layered and interlaced, rising slowly as the basket takes shape. The weaver's hands move with precision, maintaining balance and ensuring that each layer supports the next. Decorative patterns often emerge naturally. Simple twists or colored strands create subtle designs, reflecting both function and beauty, while enhancing the individuality of each basket. Even finishing touches require care. Edges are trimmed, ends tucked neatly, and the overall form checked for symmetry and durability. These final adjustments preserve both the basket's utility and its aesthetic appeal. Basket weaving is a meditative practice. The rhythmic motion of hands, the gentle rustle of materials, and the steady focus create a calming, reflective environment, connecting the maker to the natural world. Baskets were essential for daily life. They carried food, tools, and other necessities, allowing humans to transport and store goods safely while appreciating the care invested in each creation. Though modern containers have largely replaced handmade baskets, this ancient skill reminds us of a time when patience, careful observation, and delicate craftsmanship transformed simple natural materials into practical and beautiful objects. Long before synthetic fibers, humans created rope entirely by hand. Using plant fibers, animal sinews, or twisted grasses, they produced strong, flexible cords essential for daily life. Imagine a quiet workshop or riverside clearing, sunlight filtering softly through trees. Fibers are gathered carefully, inspected for strength, length, and texture, and prepared with gentle hands for twisting. The process begins slowly. Strands are aligned, smoothed, and often dampened to increase flexibility. Each movement is deliberate, ensuring that the fibers will intertwine evenly and form a strong, durable rope. Children often observe quietly, noticing how the strands twist and turn, how tension affects strength, and how careful adjustments prevent fraying or uneven thickness. Twisting is rhythmic and meditative. Hands rotate the fibers repeatedly, feeling subtle resistance, adjusting the angle and pressure with each turn to ensure a uniform cord. Long lengths of rope are often created in sections. Each segment is carefully joined, the twist maintained, and the tension adjusted, producing a continuous line that will withstand pulling and weight. Rope was essential for survival. It supported shelters, secured goods, aided in transportation, and enabled hunting and fishing. Every rope carried the quiet care and skill of its maker. The materials themselves demanded attention. Fibers responded differently depending on moisture, age, and preparation, requiring the maker to observe carefully and adjust techniques to achieve the best results. Even finishing was deliberate. Ends were knotted, whipped, or fused gently to prevent unraveling, ensuring that the rope remained reliable for its intended purpose. Rope making fostered patience and mindfulness. The slow, repetitive movements, the tactile feedback of fibers, and the attention to detail encouraged quiet reflection and deep focus. Knowledge was shared quietly between generations. Elders guided the young, teaching subtle adjustments, proper preparation of fibers, and the meditative rhythm that ensured success. Though modern synthetic ropes dominate today, the ancient art of rope making reminds us of a time when patience, skill, and gentle attention to natural materials produced objects that were both strong and essential. Long before modern kilns and electric ovens, humans fired pottery using simple, natural methods. Clay vessels were transformed slowly by fire, patience, and careful observation. Imagine a quiet village at dawn, smoke curling softly from low-burning wood piles. Potters arranged their handmade vessels in small, carefully prepared firing pits, ready for transformation. The first step is gentle drying. Clay must lose moisture gradually. If fired too quickly, vessels could crack. Each pot is observed, turned, and adjusted, ensuring slow, even preparation. Children often watch quietly, learning how heat affects clay. They notice color changes, subtle expansion, and how careful positioning prevents damage. Fires are built thoughtfully. Small, steady flames gradually surround the pottery, and logs are added slowly, feeding the heat without shocking the clay. Every movement is deliberate. Temperature is monitored intuitively. The craftsman observes smoke, flame color, and even the sound of the fire, adjusting fuel and airflow to create an even, gentle heat. During firing, the pottery transforms. Colors deepen, surfaces harden, and a quiet alchemy occurs, turning soft clay into durable, usable vessels. The process unfolds slowly, revealing the results of careful attention. Even placement within the pit matters. Pots are arranged to avoid crowding, allowing heat to reach all surfaces evenly, and subtle adjustments are made throughout the firing. Smoke and ashes sometimes leave marks or patterns on the vessels, creating unique textures that reflect both the skill of the potter and the quiet unpredictability of natural firing. The process encourages meditation. Hours spent tending the fire, observing changes, and gently adjusting pots cultivate patience and reflection, connecting human hands to earth, fire, and air. Fired pottery was essential for daily life. It stored water, grains, and food, provided tools for cooking, and carried the quiet beauty of hands-on craftsmanship into homes and communities. Though modern kilns offer precision and speed, traditional pottery firing reminds us of a time when patience, skill, and gentle care transformed simple clay into enduring objects of both utility and quiet beauty. Long before modern conveniences, humans practiced countless skills with patience, observation, and gentle care. These crafts connected people to the natural world and to one another in quiet, enduring ways. Imagine a world without machines, where every object, every tool, and every material was shaped by careful hands. Each day required attention, mindfulness, and respect for the processes of nature. From weaving and dyeing to metalworking and glassblowing, every skill demanded time, subtle observation, and delicate control. Humans learned to understand materials intuitively, responding to their properties with thoughtfulness. Even simple tasks became meditative practices. Spinning fibers, striking stones, or tending fires encouraged quiet reflection, patience, and a deep appreciation for the rhythm of life. Children learned by watching and imitating. Knowledge was passed down gently through observation, guidance, and repetition, ensuring that skills were preserved and refined over generations. Each skill carried its own beauty. Patterns in woven cloth, textures in leather, and shapes in pottery reflected both function and artistry, demonstrating that utility and creativity often walked hand in hand. Materials were respected. Wood, stone, clay, fibers, and metals were handled thoughtfully, chosen carefully, and treated with care, reflecting an understanding of the balance between nature and human work. The act of making was more than practical. It fostered mindfulness, patience, and a sense of accomplishment, connecting humans to the processes of creation and to the quiet satisfaction of a task completed with care. These skills shaped daily life. Tools, containers, clothing, and shelters were all crafted by hand, serving communities while reinforcing human ingenuity and resilience in the face of challenges. Though many of these practices had been replaced by machines, the knowledge and philosophy behind them remain inspiring. They remind us that skill, patience, and observation can create objects of enduring value. By reflecting on these lost arts, we reconnect with a slower, more deliberate way of living, appreciating the quiet mastery of hands that shaped the world with care and attention. Even in modern times, these ancient skills whisper lessons of patience, creativity, and mindfulness, encouraging us to observe, learn, and perhaps reclaim some of the quiet wisdom that shaped life before convenience took over.